Vyavaharkar. I'm a social worker in the Young Parents Program at Children's Hospital Primary Care Center in Boston. I work with low-income teen mothers and their children. Part of my job is to make sure that the children of young parents are in healthy environments for growth and development in the critical first years. This means helping young parents to find stable housing. One of my clients is a 21-year-old young mother who I've had the pleasure of knowing for almost 5 years. She has a 4-year-old son and a 4-month-old daughter. She had to move out of her mother's home at age 19 because they had a very tense relationship. She has been staying at different friends' houses ever since. Last spring, she had a falling out with a friend she was staying with, and she had nowhere to turn to her mother's apartment. In May, this young woman and her children moved into her mother's 4-bedroom apartment. Also in the home are my client's 5 siblings who are between the ages of 15 and 19. My client's stepfather also lives in the home. That's 10 people living in a small 4-bedroom apartment. This 21-year-old mom and her 4-year-old child share a twin bed on the bottom of the 15-year-old brother's bunk bed. Her baby sleeps in the pack and play in the same bedroom. There is no space to play in the room. In fact, there is barely enough room to walk through. The living room is the only common space of this apartment. Often the teenage siblings are watching adult movies or playing video games with violent graphics and otherwise inappropriate content for children. Her 4-year-old child is exposed to this on a daily basis. The food my client buys is her food stamps for herself and her children often gets eaten by her teenage siblings. This means that her children do not receive the regular meals and nutrition they need, but she is told not to complain because she's getting a roof over her head. My client constantly tells me that there is no order or sense of calm in this home, and she finds it very stressful to be raising her children in an environment that is not conducive to their well-being and development. She reports that her mother and siblings disregard her request for them to be more considerate of her young children sharing this home. My client and her mother have had a tense relationship for many years. Out of familial obligation, her mother is allowing her to stay, but she constantly makes my client and her children feel unwelcome. Her children overhear constant fighting and offensive remarks made by their grandmother towards their mother. My client's mother often told her to go to a shelter, and so she cried. In late July, my client went to DHCD and requested shelter placement. DHCD sent out DCF to conduct a home assessment and declared the family was not eligible for EA shelter as they were doubled up and had a place to stay. With no other options, the family continued to live doubled up. On September 22nd, my client brought her daughter into our clinic because she had fever. The client was very stressed and emotional about her housing situation. She said she could not continue with all the stress in the household and her mother's constant pressure for her to get out. We called the mayor's hotline and were transferred to Travelers Aid and were then told to call the Queen and Peace shelter, which would only take the family for a maximum of 3 weeks. But even that shelter ended up being full. She went back up to the double-up situation, but became so desperate that she considered sweeping the Jackson Square tea stop with her child and infant to get them away from conduct in the household. Before doing so, she made one last stop at the police station and was escorted to the BMC emergency room. At BMC, the emergency department, a social worker filed 51A, and although the call was screened in, this only added to this young mother's stress. Considering sleeping at a train station with a 4-year-old and an infant is unacceptable and heartbreaking, but that's how bad this double-up situation has been for my client and her children. How does the young mother explain to her son why he can't sleep in the bed at night and that all of his belongings are in trash bags so that he can move as soon as he needs to? Her children need a loving, stable, consistent, and predictable lifestyle. In this country, it does not seem okay to have families living under such circumstances. I often think about the impact that such an experience has had on my client's son. 4-year-olds are very impressionable and looking at the world with big open eyes. His world might seem scary and unpredictable. His living situation forces him to see things and hear things that no child should be exposed to. But this is what home is like for him, as his family is not qualified to go into a shelter because they are doubled up. They also have applied for subsidized housing and are on a long waiting list. All housing assistance funds are short-term. There are no permanent housing options for this family. I know that my client's very young children have all been negatively impacted by a stressful and untenable double-up situation that DHCD determined to be safe alternative housing. Please reconsider your